What's going on, everybody? Today I decided to play a couple matches off stream, and I wanted to do something kind of fun, which was play random teams with a bunch of random gear builds from my Strikers Club. Also, keep in mind, my Strikers Club has a lot of competitive players in it, so none of the gear builds are bad, but it's mostly about how they play together. So I wanted to see what my gameplay would be like if I had to choose different characters while also changing how I play. Maybe I have to pass more, maybe I have to play defense more, and so I have to adapt based on how my team is built. In this first game, I have a standard Waluigi, a speedy Toad with high passing, an off-meta kind of Speed Bowser build, and a regular all-around Shy Guy. Already, I can tell that I'm going to be able to apply a lot of pressure on the defense, especially with my Waluigi and my Bowser playing so far up front. However, when it comes time to play offense, it might be a little difficult because I do not have a lot of passing, so my passes are going to be very slow, and the targets aren't going to be able to shoot as well. This is also a 2v1 match, so I have to be very careful about where my opponents are positioned. Sometimes they might double up on me, which is going to make it hard on offense, but usually I'm going to be able to play around that. My biggest concern is getting the ball away from them before they get the ball across the field, because if they do, they're going to have a lot of opportunities to score. As you can see, though, even though I do not have a lot of passing on my team, I'm still able to get those cross passes to be able to score, and I already have a 2-0 lead, and this is going really well so far. I feel like my defense was pretty good in this game. Notice how even after they pass it, I still knock out that character, so essentially I have a 4v3 on defense, and it makes it easier to get the ball back. Also, even though Waluigi doesn't have a lot of passing, I'm able to charge the Titan ship a little bit, and it still works. Then, after my first 3 goals, pretty much nothing happens for a little bit, so I'm just going to talk about the general knowledge about team building and my advice for you if you are still struggling on finding a good team that you like a lot. First of all, in this game, I was very fortunate to get characters that have 17 strength, because as I've talked about in previous videos, 17 is a very good number of strength to have because you are never going to get walled by any character that your opponent may have. Also, having dedicated strong characters on your team just makes your defense a lot faster, since you're able to cover more ground with your tackles and you're able to tackle them without charging sometimes, which gives you a little bit more freedom as for your positioning and your ability to get the ball away. Something I struggled with in all of my games today is just playing offense in general, because not having a lot of passing or speed is really detrimental to your ability to get the ball downfield, because you're going to be vulnerable to whatever meta characters your opponents are going to bring, like Waluigi or Speed Bowser. Also, this was the only goal my opponent scored this game, and it was kind of like a deflection, cheesy goal, so I'll give it to them. That was kind of funny. Also, one thing that really stood out to me today is that I don't think a striker character is necessary on your team. It's very useful, don't get me wrong, to have a Mario, Rosalina, Yoshi, Daisy, someone on your team who can score from out far, because you're going to get some cheesy goals. But in general, it's not going to be nearly as consistent as just going for cross passes and setting up your speedy characters in the right position. Luckily, when it comes to this team that I got randomly, the Speed Bowser and the Waluigi makes my defense really, really good. And I'm able to get around the field exactly as much as I need to, and it doesn't seem like I'm ever really at a disadvantage because of what characters I'm using. The most important part of your team building is going to be just having a balance of your character stats. You don't want to be maxing out on one thing that all your characters are going to be doing, like having max speed or having max strength or having max shooting. Just isn't going to be as good as having certain characters that are dedicated to do certain roles, because those characters are going to be much better equipped to work together rather than being limited in what they're able to do. Anyway, this was my first win of the day, and as you can see, getting 5 goals without having any real striker on the team. I don't have a Mario or a Rosalina or anything. I'm just doing cross passes and Titan chips and whatever consistent ways I can get into the goal without relying on a long-range shooter. Now let's take a look at a game that I lost and see what kind of team I was using, how my opponent was reacting to it, and how I was using my team, well, incorrectly in order to lose the game. Also, this was really funny, but I was playing at like maybe 6:30 p.m. and I got matched against this guy 4 times in a row, and I lost every single time, so whatever happens, I definitely deserve this loss. Anyway, this was the 3rd match I had against this guy, and I'm playing with a Shy Guy captain with a Speed Wario, which I personally think is a bad build, and also a Speed Bowser, which is a good build, and a regular all-around Mario. Right off the bat, I know that I'm going to have a very, very bad time on offense, mostly because based on my games against this guy, he is very good at defense. So not being able to pass the ball around and move fast is going to really hurt me in the long run. Not only that, but on defense, I don't think that this team is good enough to stop the way that they run their offense, which is trying to feed the ball to Rosalina and taking those shots like that. This game did end up being a pretty high-scoring game with 13 total goals, and I kept it pretty close. What you're not going to see is the times I lost by 4 or 5 goals, because we're just not going to talk about that. Anyway, earlier I said that strikers aren't necessarily super important on your team, and I think that's still true, but I think that a team that has at least one dedicated striker will at least be able to pressure situations like that and score from the midfield, which kind of mixes up your gameplay on offense a little bit. Having that ability to mix up your offense is really important, because that's one of my biggest faults on this team comp, is that I really only have one method of scoring, and that's getting the ball super far up close. And since that is so predictable, it's a lot easier for my opponent to adapt and play defense better. I don't really know what the plan was on this wall pass. I'm pretty sure I could have stopped it by just tackling, but I guess it didn't work out, so better off not giving them an item. Anyway, like I said, since I only have one method of scoring, I really have to rely on using items in order to get the ball moving. And if I do get a good item, then I can make that cross pass, but otherwise my opponent is really locking me down on defense. This is both a factor of my team isn't fast and doesn't have good passing, and also my opponent is just in position more, which means they're able to take advantage of my weakness. Because, as you can imagine, Bowser's not great at doing it all himself. That being said, when you are playing the game competitively, it's important to know what your weaknesses are on your team, and you can only get aware of that by playing multiple games with that team comp and seeing how they react in different scenarios. For example, if I wanted a team comp like this to work, I would have to analyze my weaknesses and see if I can cover it with different gear options or different characters. One example of this is saying, well, I'm not that good at passing on my team, so maybe I need to swap out my Wario with a Peach or a Donkey Kong. And given that speed is a major concern, maybe I take a couple points off of Shy Guy and put it into speed so that I have a nice speedy character who's able to go for interceptions or loose balls whenever I need them to. Again, the purpose of this video is not to show off that I can win games by playing random. The point of this video is to understand how your characters matter and being able to use that knowledge to make your teams better. But sometimes all the knowledge doesn't matter because Daisy can just shoot it from anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and speed it up after this because the goals are just going to get traded back and forth to keep it a close game. So all in all, this was a fun exercise because I was able to get knowledge about teams that I would have never really used, and being able to use that in my future team building is pretty valuable. I would recommend that you guys try this out as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be in competitive strikers matches if you care about your record, but if you do want to play against it, then play against me because I want to win. That's pretty much all I want to talk about in this video. If you have any other comments or questions about this topic in general, then feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I will say, I do like this no death lob meta, because there's no death lobs. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.